video, I'm going to demonstrate how to do wrap and turn short row heels. Wrap and turn is one method for doing short rows. Short rows are named that way because they're shorter than the entire row. So when you're doing short rows, you're knitting fewer stitches than what's in a row. And we use them to do short row heels. To do wrap and turn short rows, you need to mark, before you begin, you need to mark the center heel stitches because those are not going to be knit into short rows. But you're going to do your short rows on the edges. And so I have 20 stitches on my needle. Your center heel stitches need to be roughly 1/3 of that number of stitches. And so I have placed 6 stitches as my center heel stitches. And I've placed markers on each side of those 6 stitches, so I have 7 on this side and 7 on this side, and we're going to do short rows across those 7 stitches on each side. To do that, to start, you simply knit across the row to the very last stitch. This is going to be my first wrapped stitch. To wrap your stitch, you bring your yarn to the front, slip this stitch, turn, slip this stitch back onto the right hand needle and purl across, and you've just now wrapped your stitch, and you knit across. And as you do short rows, as you're doing decreasing short rows, your length of your short row decreases by 1 stitch. So I'll knit over to the last stitch on this side and show you how to wrap the stitch on the purl side. So here I am at the last stitch on the purl side. I need to wrap that. I put the yarn in back, I turn, I slip this stitch onto my right hand needle, and then I continue knitting across, and I will now knit across to the stitch just before the wrap stitch. I'll pause here while I knit across. So here I am at the stitch before the wrap stitch I did on the last row. I'm going to repeat the process. I'm going to bring my yarn to the front, slip this stitch, wrap it, slip it back on the right hand needle, and begin purling across to the other side. I'll pause again while I purl across my row here. And here I am at the stitch before the wrap. I'm going to move my yarn to the back, slip my stitch, turn, wrap my stitch. I'm going to slip that to my right hand needle, and I'm going to continue knitting across. And you just repeat this process until you have wrapped all the stitches before each marker. I've knit all of my wrap stitches before each of the 2 markers, and I've knit over to the point where the marker on the left-hand side is, and this is the point at which we will begin doing increasing short rows. What we have done at this point is we have made the first half of our heel, but now we have to go back and begin doing what we call increasing short rows, so that we get back to our end stitches before we join the instep. In order to do that, we slip this marker. We're going to pick up the wrap around this stitch and knit through both the wrap and the stitch. Now I have a gap here and I need to wrap this stitch again. So yes, this next stitch has a double wrap. And then I'm going to purl back. I can get rid of my marker at this point. Come back over here to my marker where I began my dealing with my wrap stitches again. Remove that marker. I've got a wrap here, and it's easier to do this if you come on the back side and pick up the wrap, put it on the needle, and then purl through both the wrap and that. And then this is going to be a wrap stitch again. And now we're going to slip this and knit back. What this does is it closes the gaps that were created by the turns on the decreasing short row. So we knit back over here. Here's my double wrap stitch. I have to go through both wraps this time, as well as the stitch on the needle. And that may be a bit of a trick. So you might want to try and just lift these wraps up onto the needle and then knit the 3 of them together. Now I have to wrap this stitch and turn and purl back across the row. So as we're doing increasing short rows, the rows are getting longer by 1 stitch. Here I am at my double wrap on my purl stitch. I need to purl these 3 loops together, like so. I need to wrap the next stitch. And then knit across. And you just keep doing that until you've used up all of your stitches. I will be back after I've knit a bit more. All right, I have knit to the point that I've picked up, and I have a double wrap stitch on this edge and a double wrap stitch on this edge, and we're ready to begin joining back in the round and begin working the instep stitches along with the heel stitches. And of course we get to our last double wrapped stitch here. Make sure you get that wrap picked up and knit through the wraps and the stitch. And now we're ready to knit the instep stitches. And we simply start knitting, making sure when we start knitting the instep, we pull that stitch close to the cable to avoid any gaps or ladders, and knit across the stitches of the instep. And we'll need to, when we get to the other side of the heel, we'll need to knit our double wrap stitch on that side, and then we're back to knitting in the round to complete the sock. Now, short row heels can be done toe up or cuff down. The method works either way. All right, I'm at the end of my row. Coming up on my double wrap stitch over here on my heel. And this is where I finish using my double wrap stitches. So here we are with my wraps. Here and here. I try not to split that stitch. It's a little tight. Okay. And again, as we knit this stitch, we want to make sure we pull snugly so that we don't have any gaps, and knit across. All right, I'll pause for a moment while I knit across this heel. And so here we are. Here's our short row heel completed. Okay, I have another video on using German short rows versus wrap and turn short rows. The advantage of wrap and turn short rows is that you can use a contrasting yarn to make a contrasting heel if you want. The advantage of the German short row heel is that you even have less issues with holes in your sock heel. But that's how you do a short row heel.